Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining this roundtable, leveraging social audiences to create a better obituary. Today we're joined by Sally Steed, SVP of Advertising at the Salt Lake City Tribune, and Mary Hoffman, Director of Classified at the Chicago Sun-Times. They'll share their success stories about new and exciting approach that they've taken to transition print obituaries into digital brand ambassadors with expanded revenue opportunities. Today, your readers are often first discovering who's recently passed and send condolences in their Facebook feed or other social networks. This turns social media into an exciting, low to no cost tool that every publication can use to engage current readers, attract new ones, and discover new revenue sources. Sally and Mary are going to share their experiences with iPublish's Facebook solution, ad portal targeted Obits, and Legacy's use of audience categories to extend both the reach and longevity of a person's obituary. This is hosted by Brian Gorman, Executive Vice President and Chief Revenue Officer for iPublish Media Solutions, and Ernie Roth, General Manager of Legacy.com. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, Emily, thank you very much. I didn't realize you were going to read that off the website, so you kind of stole my first slide here. But I just want to thank, on behalf of iPublish and Legacy, I want to thank LMA for allowing us this opportunity. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on a Friday afternoon. We do appreciate that. So our agenda, we're going to try to keep this as interactive as possible. So if you have a question, just use the chat line and it'll pop up on the screen, and we'll try to address those as they come in. But we've scheduled this in a way that we should have a good 15, 20 minutes at the end if we don't get to every question that comes in. So I'm going to just do a quick intro of Publish. I'm going to hand it off to Kim Vandervelde. And I should probably correct when we went to press, Ernie Roth from Legacy was actually going to do this. Ernie couldn't do it today, so Kim Vandervelde, who is the SVP of Newspaper Affiliate Partnerships from Legacy, will be handling it for Legacy. And then, of course, Sally and Mary are really the stars of the show, and most of the time will be spent them explaining their use case of working with both iPublish and Legacy, and then hopefully, as I said, we'll have enough time for questions and answers. And please use the chat line. Just type in your question, and if we can answer it interactively, we will. Okay, James? Okay, so first of all, you may be wondering why iPublish and Legacy are doing this together. Well, we've been working with Legacy for a good 10 years. We actually invented self-service obituaries back in 2010. So we've been doing this for about 10 years now. And almost all of our print, we provided a self-service function for print obituaries. And almost every single one that we handle, we create a digital version that goes to Legacy. So we've been working with Legacy for a good 10 years. And then got to know the company really well, have enormous respect for Legacy, always have. And then in December of 2019, they acquired us. So we decided when we did this roundtable that we would do it together. Both of our product roadmaps are in the same direction. We're still running as an independent company, but Legacy is 100% owner of iPublish. We have about 700 websites in the US. We have about 140 different ad portals of those 700 that process over 600,000 obituaries every year. So thousands of funeral homes use our application, and families as well. And as I mentioned, we're focused on doing self-service for print with a digital upload to principally Legacy. We offer the highest self-serve rate in the industry, 70%. Now, what I mean by that is that of those 600,000 obituaries, 70% are coming in directly from funeral homes and families. Which pays incredible dividends to your operation. It's a great service to both the funeral homes and the families themselves. James? So what we're going to talk about today is something we call targeted obituaries. Now, we've been working with Facebook and handling the e-commerce and the actual Facebook ad building in real estate for several years. And we started discussing how we could take Facebook to a whole nother level in the obituary space. Facebook is in the obituary market in pretty much a big way. Families use to share on their Facebook page. Funeral homes use to share. And we wanted to take it even further than that, because unless you're connected as a friend to someone's Facebook page, you're not going to see that. So we decided that we were going to use our interface into the audience database that we have right from our ad portal application, and make the audiences available by the funeral home and by the family to target the obituary. And that's what we've done. So James, next slide. So not only do we create the audiences, we also build a very respectful and a beautiful ad, an obituary ad, that actually shows up in the timeline. So this will pop up in the timeline of anyone who fits the targeting criteria. We take the picture from the print obit, we superimpose that on a background, we give the publisher a number of backgrounds they can choose from, we drop the funeral home logo in, and we run it on the masthead of the publisher. So we use your Facebook business account, and we create both a browser version and a mobile version that then gets targeted. James? The targeting is very, very easy to use. It simplifies the Facebook interface so that a private party coming to the site, if I'm using it for the first time, can do this. They put in things like geos. You can have multiple geos. You can have an age range. You can put down a civic organization that the deceased might have belonged to, whether they went to high school, university, all different things like that. And that criteria always pops up out of the Facebook database. You click on it, and you have created a managed campaign in about 10 seconds. And we were interested in this. We launched it. Two of our partners that are on today will give you direct feedback. We'll share with you the feedback from the funeral homes. And the results have been amazing. We're getting like 3 to 5% click-through on real estate. With these, we're getting 25% click-through rates. So it's been very, very effective. So I'm going to hand it off to Kim now. She's going to talk a little about what Legacy's doing, and then you'll hear from our two partner companies. Kim?
Great, thanks so much, Brian. And we do appreciate the opportunity to co-host this with iPublish, and also in conjunction with Sally and Mary. As Brian said, we acquired iPublish in 2019 and have been working more closely together since that time. And some of the initiatives that we have in place right now tie very nicely into what iPublish is doing on the targeted obituary side. So for those of you who don't know us, we are the global leader in online obituaries and end-of-life information. We have obituary partnerships with over 1,000 newspapers and provide other services to over 3,500 funeral homes. And we have the largest database of obituaries really in the world, over 30 million, as well as the most visited funeral home directory. And you know, our goal is really to offer our partners not only the scale that I just mentioned, but really leadership and expertise in this category that is continually changing. We've seen extensive change over the last few years, and we are there with our partners to kind of work through that change and offer them new solutions and initiatives, as I'll talk about in a minute. James? So currently, as I mentioned, memorialization is changing, and we are really focused on aligning our strategy with the end-of-life customer journey. And that's reflected in some of the products and initiatives that are being rolled out right now. Just quickly going through this, there are really 3 phases of this journey: end-of-life planning, at-need resource, and memorialization, longer-term memorialization. And that can span, you know, weeks, days, decades. And right now, Legacy and our obituary partners, our newspaper partners, have really focused on the at-need phase, which we're calling like the 7-day window. And it's the period of time from the arrangements to services when the obituary is placed. But this is a very short period of time, and it's currently a static experience. And we want to take that and enhance that much beyond that 7-day window. So we're looking to focus much more, and we have been over the last year, on long-term memorialization to really honor and remember a loved one over time. We're engaging new audiences, driving more traffic, and doing this through redesigned obituary pages, as well as our Facebook initiative and community pages, which I'll just touch on in a minute. James? So in addition to iPublish's targeted obituary program, Legacy is also creating Facebook pages for our newspaper partners. And as you can see, it's a small sample, but you can go to some of these pages. We are feeding in obituaries that are published on a daily basis into the page. And really the goal is to get these obituaries in front of users where they want to see them. As you know, a lot of family and friends use Facebook extensively now more than ever, especially being conducted at home. And we really want to bring obituaries to them on Facebook. So you can get the exposure through liking the page, and then that will lead to additional sharing and engagement. And all traffic from these posts go back to the newspaper site. So again, it's driving additional traffic back to the site, reaching audiences that you may not have reached before. And we're seeing some terrific results. These initiatives are driving up to 15% more traffic to your obituaries. And we saw 90,000 obituaries published to Facebook in July, which led to an average of 12 sessions back to each obituary from Facebook. And that's all incremental. So we're really encouraging folks to reach that social audience through these pages, and excited to set those up for our partners. James? In addition to that, we are looking at other ways to reach users through what we're calling our community pages. And Legacy is using some technology to go through obituaries and identify meaningful parts of a person's life. It could be education, employment, military service, hobbies and interest groups. And we're taking these affinity attribute groups and creating unique content experiences around them. For example, the University of Washington obituaries page. This is a page that aggregates obituaries that have the common affinity of University of Washington. And again, it's another way of taking that obituary content, expanding the life of it, and bringing new audiences back to our newspaper publishers. By creating these pages, your content is exposed to a new group, a group of people that might be interested in University of Washington obituaries. Perhaps they are using a Facebook page right now or have a text group in order to keep in touch with. But here's another avenue in which they can interact with content related to some of their interest group. And we are launching these coming up this fall. They're not launched quite yet, but we are now starting the process of pulling some of these affinity groups and attributes from our obituary content so we can create them. And look forward, that the opportunity is endless in getting these pages created and really helping to, again, expand the audience, drive traffic back, and make the obituary content much more relevant for a longer period of time. All right, thank you.
Okay, Sally?
All right, well, it didn't take me very long when they asked. I think it took me a couple of seconds to agree to do this. I can't sing the praises of these two companies enough, of iPublish and Legacy, and I'm thrilled to be able to share our experience. James, if you want to go to the first slide. To give you guys a little bit of background on who I am, I came from 14 years working in regional management from Panasonic, and I've been at the newspaper now 16 years. So I started at the age of 12. Let's just go with that. It's been a lot of years. One of the things I learned in each group, just common mentality, whether you're talking about wholesale, retail, marketing, the newspaper, if you're building a company or a product based on price point, your longevity is at risk. If you're building a product based on the customer experience, it's a recipe for success. I mean, that is just stupid simple. And how do we apply that to classifieds? When I very first started touching classifieds for the newspaper, I put myself in the experience, and the experience starts with the person at your newspaper answering the phone, implementing the obituary. That is where it starts. So I went ahead and sat at a desk for a few weeks. If you guys have not taken the chance to do that, to sit at a desk of a person that inputs obituaries, it's something you should start with. That is where you'll find success or failure. How can we provide the best experience for my Utah Media Group staff that inputs all of these obituaries? My question was, how do we create the best experience for them? Next, Legacy was great. They've been a long-term partner since 2002. To go on the road, visit funeral homes, and ask ourselves, how do we make their experience better? Are they having the best experience, and are we making it easy enough for them? Because their loyalty to us is crucial. Number 3, how do we provide the best experience for our readers? Obviously, obituaries still drive the newspaper. It's the one area for us that continues to grow, that continues to be in demand. And how do we take the very best care of that and provide everything that they need? So that was the question marks. And those are questions we ask ourselves every single day still. How do we continue to service up for our clients? Give a better experience than they expected. So what were the solutions? iPublish. iPublish improved the experience of the person inputting the obituary. If you don't understand that, again, you haven't sat in the seat. How easy it is to use, how fast the process is. They encounter people that are at the worst points of their life every day, that are emotional, that are short on patience. The ease of use that iPublish brought to the table paid for itself. It made the process for the people inputting the ads easier. That's important. I'll touch in a minute on how that also applies to the Facebook portal. Next, the funeral homes. It was very easy to see that this was also going to improve the experience for our funeral homes, our funeral directors. How easy was it for them to place an obituary? Could they do it hands-on themselves rather than talking to someone all the time? Was it an intuitive system? Could it bring a solution to the table? It absolutely did. I can't say enough good about it. And legacy, that's for our readers. Every single day, our readers think that we are legacy. They don't really see the difference there. So what kind of image legacy had and the service that they provided was crucial for us. And they are as good a face as we are, and probably even better. In the last 18 months, I'm gonna say, they serviced 77,000 guest entries. That's a lot. They fielded 319,000 support inquiries. They, for me, are a 24/7 client. It doesn't matter when I call them with a need or a question, they pick up the phone and they pick it up fast. For our readers, legacy is now just a part of an obit. Oh, where can I find that obituary? I'm gonna go to legacy.com. It's the known provider at this point. James, next slide. So Facebook and Obits and the social portal, how does that step into it? Probably the most popular question that I have gotten from other newspapers that are looking to do this is, hey, we have an agency that places Facebook and boosts Facebook, and actually the client can do it themselves. Why would you do it? That is an easy one. It's an easy one for me to answer. For a funeral home, it provided a one-stop shopping. For a client, when they're at the worst time of their lives, when they're trying to figure it out, it has actually been a total solution that the funeral home can say, we've got it all under control. We've got your print obituary ready. We've got your Facebook obituary ready. Where would you like to target it? Where did they work? It does the thinking for them. The engagement to it has been 100% positive. To date, we have only had one single person ask to have obituaries not fed to their social media line, and quite the opposite. We have many call and ask how they can get them fed to their Facebook page. So that's a good problem to have. The engagement and the reader content that it provides socially and the additional reach has been positive, both for the social user as well as the person placing an obituary. A very clean and simple process. iPublish was flawless in putting that together. Legacy has been flawless in making sure they feed us the content they have. And number one, back to where it starts, for my people inputting the ads, it is absolutely flawless how they can do it all in one portal. Sure, we could do it through our agency, but that would mean putting in an obituary through and putting in the information through our agency to post it on Facebook. That's two different touch points. Now it's one touch point, one single touch point for the person that is putting in the ad, or the obit rather, and it's a positive experience, and they actually get excited to do it and see it created right there in front of them. So very positive. James, next slide. So what is the funeral home response? The funeral home response is that we brought them a tool at a time when they needed it the most that was amazing. In their mind, it's a thank you over and over and over for bringing us something that we can talk about that's very positive at a time when we can't have very many funerals. So it's been a solution for them. That's very much how they see it. And they don't see it as an option at this point. They just put it with their obituaries. It's one of the things they brag about. Oh, by the way, we've got your Facebook taken care of as well. What are the families' feedback? Appreciative, extremely complimentary, most better than expected. Wow, this experience, I can't believe everything you provided and brought to the table. And it's been flawless. Again, no mistakes. One single person now in 4 or 5 months of doing it that's asked to have it not delivered, and many, many calls a day asking how they can receive them all to their social Facebook line. So obviously a revenue boost. Our revenue in the last 2 years for the, and I'm gonna just brag on the legacy and the iPublish for being the strongest arm in this, is up 20% in 18 and 19, not counting this odd year, which will probably be double digit and more. So that's kind of my elevator pitch, and I'm happy to take questions, or even if you want to contact me off the grid, I am more than happy to talk about this company and their services because they have done a lot for us. So
Sally, we did have one question that's germane to your talk.
Yeah.
Bob asks, do you allow families to use the Obit portal? And have you experienced any issues or reasons why private parties should not use the portal for Obit placement?
So at this point, that's step B. That's a good question. We started out with just our funeral homes being able to use the portal. That has been step one, and as I mentioned, there has been no obstacles with it. Step B, which we are implementing this month, will be to let the private parties go in and place it themselves through the portal. Is there a reason for them not to? No, not in my opinion. It was just a matter of us on the back end making sure we could process those as private party and go through one by one and have them feed into Mactive correctly and all of that stuff. So I really don't have a reason that they wouldn't.
Sally, as a
I think that they flashed in front of you some of our, what's that?
I was just going to ask another question that is
that's
relevant to you.
Sure.
So Thomas asks, do you treat the Facebook as an upsell or is it bundled element to the print price?
It is an assumed sale is what I'm going to call it. It's an assumed sale from the very beginning. They have to ask for it to be removed. Now, many might ask, why don't you just force bundle them all? I'm going to take that back to the customer experience. Everything we do is so that the customer experience is flawless and that they don't have frustration. To date, there is almost no one asking for those to be taken off. The ones that have asked for it to be taken off were either very, very sensitive to rate and price and what they could afford, or they didn't use social media themselves. They weren't familiar with Facebook. That wasn't something they'd engaged in. Other than that, there has been no pushback, and a tremendous click-through rate, as you'll see. For those of you that have an agency that handles social media, to have a 27% click-through rate and 29% engagement rate is unheard of. It's amazing. So really positive on that end. Any other questions?
Nope, there's one for Kim, but we'll hold that till Mary goes. All right, Mary, you're up.
Okay, well, this has been an interesting half hour. The power went out here in Chicago by my house, and I literally just became up and running 2 minutes ago. So I was on my phone, and I wanted to just touch base that my sentiments about legacy and iPublish matches Sally's 100%. I don't think our success rate would be anywhere near what it currently is if it wasn't for these two companies and everything they've done with us. If you're currently not working with them, I have to say why. Their customer service and what they have done and talked me through. I came from our competitor in Chicago, the Chicago Tribune, that I was with for 20 years. and I was asked to come over to the Sun-Times to handle classifieds. I didn't know anything about classifieds. I certainly didn't know anything about obituaries. I have a very good staff. To touch on Sally's point, I sat with our obituary staff member, and I did learn it through her, but I didn't know back end with iPublish or Legacy. And then I was invited to a few meetings, and Brian, Kim, Diana, James, I assume we all click. They know a lot about me. I push back. So if you're sitting on this call and you're like, I don't think so, or I don't know, that's how I was. My MO is to be the spokesperson for all the businesses, in this case, the funeral homes and the families. And I do not want to take money for something that's not going to work. And I pushed back and pushed back, and I asked more questions than they probably have seen in over a year. They answered everything willingly, and I cannot speak enough about how wonderful this program is. Working with iPublish, as my bullet says, the software is extremely easy to use. The families who do private have no problem. The funeral homes, we have hosted webinars with the help of iPublish. They will do this for you. They record them. We now have them in our cache. As we get new funeral homes, we send out that video and then do a webinar ourselves, speaking to them from in-house. Legacy has been a partner with the Chicago Sun-Times for many, many years. Kim from that team has also been a godsend and answers any and all questions that we give her. So I'm jumping all over the place. I'm sorry, James, that I'm not following this to the nines, but to go through this, you know, we have processed 528 obits so far. Well, that number has jumped overnight because Sunday's right around the corner. 90% of our obits are placed through the funeral homes, and all of our print obits are uploaded automatically to Legacy out of this ad portal. We added the targeted obits in June, and it was the last week of June, so I'm gonna really say July and mid-August. Wait till you see our results. James? So, when they said Facebook, I was really happy to hear it, but I put them through their ringers, like I said, and I wanted to know all the ins and outs. And now that we're doing Facebook for the obits, we have bundled it. Sally, I'm going to take your advice to heart. It is a forced buy with us. So out of all the obits we've done, we only had one, and it actually was an in-house staff member's extended family that didn't want it. Of course, we removed it, and that was a no-charge obit already. But when we first did the webinar, we heard from one funeral home, like, this is highway robbery, blah, blah, blah. And all of you, if you haven't sat with your obit staff member, they hear this from the funeral homes all the time. They try to negotiate the rates down. So we took that, you know, and pushed forward. And the response from the funeral homes and the families has been nothing but stellar. Like, they're so grateful. They never even thought about this portion of it as having us as the Chicago Sun-Times through iPublish do the Facebook posting. And it, because you fill out all the targeting as Brian went through, it's hitting classmates of their parents from the 50s and whatnot. So they heard wonderful stories back from people they never met about from their loved one. And I have goosebumps just saying that to all of you. You know, that's what we're here for. We want to help these families in their darkest moments, and we're doing that. So no funeral homes are now pushing back. We're seeing some funeral homes that we never had. I believe we are the only newspaper in the Chicago area, and there's two other, Chicago Tribune and Daily Herald, that are running the Facebook. So we're standing out in that fashion also. So this helps not only your own publication, right? Because your paper is listed on everything and it comes back through your site. And then with the legacy connection, so this is adding impressions. So besides helping the funeral homes, and when you're talking to the funeral homes, don't forget to mention their logo is in everything. So this is helping all of them. So you see our results. Our click-through rate, just like Sally said, is 25%. It's crazy how good that is. Engagement, 49,000, 274 comments, and 1,100 reactions. That's phenomenal. So let me know if you have any questions. I highly recommend this partnership.
Mary, we do have 2 questions. Bob asks, since the targeted Facebook ad is bundled, did you implement a rate increase or did you just absorb the cost?
Oh no, we did a rate increase.
Okay. And Michael asks, how does the paid Facebook listing complement, or make redundant the efforts by Legacy to make the obit more findable on Facebook through its enhanced approach?
So remember that you're targeting it via what the family inputs. So I have yet to see one because no one, fortunately, in my family or extended friend group has passed, right? So you're not competing, you're hitting who that family wants to target.
It actually, I think it really adds more targeting and adds more reach to what we're doing, because we're just pushing obits to a common page and all the obits are there. But then what Sun Times and Utah Media Group are doing is they are, targeting specific groups who want to see these obits, and they're pushing it out even further than Legacy's doing with their page. So it's a great complement to each other.
Right, I agree. I did want to just quote one of these, if you can go to the next page. So this family, the other 4 you saw, and by the way, we had many, many more we could have added to this. And all we did was a soft reach out. Hey, how has this been working? Have you had any feedback? And we got all that feedback just within 2 hours of requesting it. So this was a private family that reached out, and they had said, we are so thankful for the opportunity to communicate the passing of our mother with extended family and friends through the edit Facebook option during this difficult time in the world where we cannot all be together. And again, it's gotta make you as a company feel very good that you're helping a family when they're so down. So, in regards to Legacy, the Chicago Sun-Times has worked with them since 2001. And, just to mirror what Kim herself was saying and what Sally was saying, you get 24/7 customer service. You need something, reach out. They will help you. You need something explained, reach out, they will help you. They're pushing business towards you and they're helping your obit to see more people. I think you all know this, the obits live on their site forever. So if you want to do even some historic searching, you can go and do that. Yeah, they've been great. James?
Okay, any other questions or comments so far?
I saw a question pop in about having a dedicated Facebook page for obits versus using the newspaper page. So if you don't mind, I'll just address that.
Sure.
So you're right, you all have your own Facebook pages, which get a lot of traffic and you have a lot of followers on those pages. The Obit page supplements what you're doing. And the reason it's set up, it's really kind of limitations by Facebook that require us to have our own page. In order for those obituaries to be searchable within the Facebook database, we do need to set up a separate API, and we do want those obituaries to be searchable so people can, if they're looking for somebody, they can find them. And so what we suggest, though, is you cross-promote the pages. So within your own Facebook page, you can promote the obituary page and vice versa to try to drive more followers. And like I said, there's no harm in having a separate page. You can feed that content into your own Facebook page as well. But the separate Obit page will just really kind of enhance what you're doing and extend the reach of that content even further. All traffic being driven back to the newspaper for additional audience generation and monetization. So it's a win-win.
Thanks, Kim. Hannah asks, who determines the ad budget for the targeted obits?
James, I'll take that. So one of the things that we had to work out when we first launched this was exactly that issue. As you probably know, Facebook has a minimum spend daily of $1. We determined that if we ran these for a week, which is, Legacy uses that period of time. An Obit really today lives for a week. They're doing a lot to expand that, obviously, with what Kim described. So when we set these campaigns up, we cap it. Now, Sally, are you running it for longer than a week? One of you two are running it for 2 weeks, I think, right?
We have an option. We have an option of doing a week or 2 weeks.
Okay. And so we can build that into the application. So we recommend running it for a week. We cap the spend at usually $10 so that you know that the campaign is not going to cost any more than that, and the duration will be for a week. And so the results that you've seen that we put up on the screen there are for really relatively short campaigns at very low budgets. Now we charge a fee as well. Our customers are making about a 50% net profit on these. So the pricing is such that you can, not only is this a very worthy exercise, as Sally and Mary described, it's also a moneymaker. And we worked with Facebook enough to know how to control the ad spend, and you make that determination though. You tell us how you want to control that. Any other questions? I think we had a few that we thought might come up. And we basically, on how this all gets set up is we work with you and we use your Facebook business account. James, you understand this a lot better than I do. So why don't you take a minute just explain how that works?
Right, so we interface into your Facebook Business Manager account. So it's completely automated. There's no human intervention needed on the side of the media company. And we set those campaigns up. We do set the campaign cap, the spending cap for each of the campaigns based on the duration that you want to have those to run. And they get interfaced directly through the API within Facebook.
Okay, James, we have another question from Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, from Mike. Okay, yeah. So Mike asks, with the recent rate increase from 2018 and 2019, we've seen rate increases drive a drop in volume that over time negates the gain in more than a few markets. Are you finding that forced rate increases are accelerating that decline?
I'm happy to take that one if you want me to.
Sure, Sally, go ahead.
Absolutely not. In fact, it's been more of a positive for us. My immediate fear was the rate increase. I think that's what the iPublish team would tell you, is I kept saying, oh my gosh, we're taking up rates at a time when people are so crunched. Instead, it's been the opposite. Now that it's been out for a minute, we have people ensuring while they're on the phone with us. Now, did we make sure that I have that feature where it puts it out on Facebook under your name? Is that a part of mine? So we've had no pushback on the rate increase, which has been shocking to me. None.
Yeah, thank you, Sally. I think that's a very good question, by the way, and it's something that both iPublish and Legacy are very concerned about.
Yep.
So what we've focused on doing is adding more value to the obituary so that you can ask for a rate increase. I think the problem is that newspapers in the past, not all newspapers, but some, have taken obituaries for granted and have just increased the rates without really adding any more value. So with this, you're adding tremendous value. And this is our, we created a product called Tributes about 3 years ago, which creates value. And then we came out with the Facebook option this year. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to add more and more value to the obituary so that you can maintain your business, not lose obits, and increase your revenue.
And to add on to that, legacy is, it's a very important thing that we've been watching, the last couple of years along with Brian. And we're really trying to talk with some of our partners about some creative pricing solutions to ensure that you are getting as much obituary content that you can get from your funeral homes. I mean, the declines are there. We're seeing the, double-digit declines year over year. But there are ways that that can be stopped, and potentially more content can come into play with some creative pricing models that include some of these options and enhancements that the group here has talked about today. So it's definitely something to take a close look at.
Thanks, Kim. So Thomas asks, when the obit is being submitted, how do you walk the funeral home or the client through the various targeting options? In other words, are you adding time to each call? And are the funeral homes in particular willing to spend that time? Sally or Mary, do you want to field those?
So we have had no pushback from the funeral homes. They're asking general questions anyway when the families come in to do all the planning. So, and if you saw, Brian went through it on the page, it showed you all the different targeting. So most of these questions, I think, are helping the funeral homes actually get more intel to create the obituary. So to answer your question, no, we have not had any pushback. I have an in-house staff member, and he said he's not spending any more time on this.
Sally, anything to add?
I would add something to that. It's actually been a positive for us in increasing the length of an obituary. I was still so bad bragging that, but as we go through the questions, you'll pull out what school did they attend, where did they work, and all of a sudden you have the client saying, oh wait, I forgot to put that in my regular obituary. I need to go back and say that they attended this college or this university. In turn, it's actually making the print obituary itself longer. That's the interesting part. It's helping them think through what they need in there at a time when they can't think clearly.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Sally. All right, Michael asks, what's a typical retail value assigned to the Facebook upsell or a range?
I'll answer that. I'd say entry level, you're probably looking in the $25 to $29 range retail. And but we have sites that are offering it for as much as $39 or $49. A lot of it will depend on your market, what your average obit cost is, and what the market. But we can control the spend, as I said. So we can control the Facebook costs, and our customers are seeing about a 50% net profit at in that price range.
There was one question that we thought would be asked, and that is, what is the best way to promote both of these Facebook programs with our readers?
We've actually done fillers in the Chicago Sun-Times, print and digital, doing a shout out that we've added this to our obituaries. But we also, when you do the webinar, you're inviting all your current and potential funeral homes, and so they're getting all the information there. And then my in-house staff person who handles obits actually reaches out to 5 per week just to remind them about this new added program.
Same exact, I would answer the same exact way. Same thing. Word of mouth has been the strongest for us, though. The funeral homes talking about it has actually been our strongest advocate of it.
Yeah, the one thing I don't think we made super clear, I know Sally addressed it a little bit, is that most of we have 140 sites that offer Obits, and almost all of them run it in the call center as well. So when you think of self-service, you think, oh, it's not running in the call center. Well, it does run in the call center. And of all the verticals that we offer at iPublish, Obituaries has been the most successful from a self-serve perspective. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that the call center reps become so familiar with the software and love it so much because they'd much prefer to use our software over a front-end system. They mentor the funeral homes on how to use it. So the staff becomes less of an order input person and more like a support person. And that's a transition that occurs in almost all of our customers.
Kim, did you have something to add to that?
I was just going to say from our perspective, and by the way, the Facebook page that Legacy is creating is free to all of our partners, so certainly something to take advantage of. But what we are suggesting, and I alluded to this earlier, is cross-promoting it with your own Facebook page so that you get more exposure. And then also, this page is SEO optimized, so it will get exposure just in Google search results as it is through some of the work that we're doing on our end. But any kind of promotion, as Mary and Sally said as well, to let users and funeral homes know that these obituaries are socially shared is certainly beneficial.
Kim, there's a question that came in about community pages. Will the community pages be localized, meaning will my local college or high school swim team be there? And can I request specific categories?
We'd certainly love to hear from you on specific categories, but yes, we are planning to build many local pages. And as I mentioned, it could be related to education, military service, interest groups, hobbies. Really, it's endless. We are, and the nice thing about utilizing iPublish, and both everyone kind of alluded to this, you're putting in some parameters with the targeting that are also important for Legacy when they're looking to create these community pages, because we can pull out some of these parameters that are mentioned in the obituary, and that's how we're starting to create the pages. So we are going to start with education, I believe military service shortly thereafter, and then we will expand, and it's really endless. It's really kind of whatever affinity groups we can mine from the obituary content itself. So getting really great data in the obituary is awesome for these pages. And so you'll see lots of them to come in the near future.
We still have a few more minutes before we head into the wrap up. Are there any other final questions? Last call for questions for either Sally or Mary or Brian or Kim?
Okay, James, I think we can probably wrap it up now.
Michael asks, how long does it take to launch?
Ad Portal itself will take 30 to 45 days for obituaries. If you already have Ad Portal, Facebook, literally you turn it on and it runs. I mean, obviously you'd have to create a new package, which we do, it only takes a few minutes, and then you'd want to promote it to the funeral homes. So you don't want to just spring it on them. But as far as getting that to launch, that launches overnight. All right. Well, thank you everyone for sticking around on a Friday afternoon. Hopefully you found this informative, and thank you, Sally and Mary, for your input. And believe it or not, we didn't pay them to come here and say all those great things about us. They did it voluntarily. I know you might find that hard to believe, but that's the truth.
I was actually honored. So.
Yeah. I think the one thing too that we didn't mention yet is both Legacy and iPublish are firmly committed to the newspaper industry. We believe very highly in the print obit as a staple, as a traditional way of communicating someone's passing into a community. But times are changing, and all other categories have gone digital, so is obituaries. So we're going to be on the forefront of that. And we see this as a transitional phase. We see these offerings as a way to transition, because at some point, who knows, maybe print, I've been hearing it for 10 years now. It's still pretty much a dominant advertising media, but you know, it may go away. The other thing I know, both Mary and Sally talked about this, is that it's really rare to find a revenue driving initiative that can be as accepted as this in the marketplace. Because I know with Obits, there's always concern about rate increases. We hear it all the time. And yet, we're not hearing it with this. This, of all the things that we've ever done outside of the original launch of Ad Portal 10 years ago, this has been pretty remarkable. It really has. So thank you very much. Any last questions, anyone?
Kim, did you have something to add to wrap up?
No, I think Brian said it really well. I mean, we are very focused on digital memorialization and that customer journey, as we mentioned, and look forward to bringing new products and initiatives to our partners to really extend the life of the obituary, reach new audiences, drive, you know, some new traffic and monetization back. And we're doing that in conjunction with iPublish, and it's been a great partnership. So thank you so much, Mary and Sally. We really appreciate your participation, and everybody else that joined today as well.
Emily, really quick, can you speak to the availability of the recording and the deck?
Yes, absolutely. We will have this recording available on our highlights page as soon as it's done processing. So check back in, 30 minutes or an hour to that page that's on the LMA website. And I do believe we'll have the deck there too. Just need to grab that from you guys, but we'll be posting that both to our site so you can rewatch, share this with your teams, whatever you might need.
Okay, Emily, thank you very much for all your help. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too.